Hello and welcome to the Tech for Good podcast. I'm Romilly Broad, and as ever, we're here to shine a light on the people who are using technology to make the world a better place. Today's guest is Arianna Ortelli, co-founder of Novis Games. Novis Games in 2019 asked themselves a question, and that question was, how can we make video games accessible to everybody? Not just most people, but everybody, including those with severe visual disabilities. They came up with some ideas, and then they teamed up with Microsoft and its Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact program. They've developed some tools. Those tools are already being used by developers to introduce whole new levels of accessibility to their games. And now they're using AI to change the game again. So, Arianna, how are you doing that? Who are you? What is your company called? And what is your mission in the world?
Thank you so much, Ron, for having me here. I'm Arianna Ortelli, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Novis Games, a social impact startup that is born from a quite simple question. Can you imagine playing a video game without using your eyes? That is because over 253 million blind and visually impaired people face difficulties in playing with their smartphones, laptops, or game consoles. And that's why our journey has started.
Great. So since 2019, that's been your goal. Now, have I ever asked myself the question, I wonder what it would be like to play a game without my eyes? Honestly, no. But then most people don't, right? It's people who have a visual impairment who are going to be asking that question. Now, is that relevant to your team? I'm assuming that your team had a reason to start this work. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. When we started, it was 2019, and the very first idea was completely different from the one we have now, in the sense that I was doing economics in Turin, Italy, and with other people from my universities and other universities, we start developing a video game in which you will be able to use sounds and vibration to play in open environment, for example, in the park. And we prototype a first table tennis games in which you can play with 3D sounds and vibration just using your smartphone. And when we had this idea, we tried to play that, and we just look at each other and say, oh, well, but maybe if I can play that with just sounds and vibration, also a blind player can play. And then how can a blind player, how can a person with no or low vision play video games? And so I went to my first blind association in my city, and there I met Marco, which is now my co-founder, which is visually impaired, and he was completely thrilled about the idea of playing video games because there were real issues in playing video games without using the screen. And so that is why we started and how.
Brilliant. So Marco was someone that you already knew. He himself was visually impaired.
Yeah.
Was it the case that he was able to play games to an extent, but could see that there was a lot of room for improvement, or could he just not play games at all?
No, there are some games we have started testing together at the time. For example, the football games, when we use Nintendo Wii or different type of consoles, due to the fact that he had a little low vision, he can understand some elements on the screen. So for simple games, for games in which there's time to decide and which maybe another person can help him to play, it was quite possible to play. But you can imagine how difficult it is when you have so many elements on the screen, no much time to play, and also maybe you are in a competition with someone else, so it's not easy at all. And this is for people with low vision. Imagine how it feels like with no vision. When you don't have opportunities to recognize the elements, it's very difficult to understand. Also to enter the game. For example, the menu are the first step. If the menu is not accessible at all, to me it's not possible to understand where I have to go in order to start my game.
Right. Actually, that's a real usability question there, isn't it? Because what's beyond that initial menu might be great. But
Yeah.
actually, if you're not thinking about that first step, you're not going to get there at all, right? So how do you, since 2019, you have you've joined the Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact program. We'll ask you about that in a while, but I think you found that quite helpful. But you're now actively working with developers and presumably by extension publishers as well to help them think about this stuff and to maybe provide them with some tools to help them do it. So can you give us an overview of how it is you actually work with developers to achieve these goals of yours?
Yeah, of course. Since we started, we at first developed our own video games. So we directly provide contents for users, so users with low and no vision, without using the screen, as I said, for like the first table tennis game I mentioned at the beginning. But after a few years with the community, we understand that the real need of people and also of the market, of the industry, was to create accessible modes that can be implemented in the existing games. And in order to do that, we work and understand. We studied a little bit more about the accessibility in gaming, and we discovered that, of course, it's very expensive and it's hard to design if you don't know how, for example, use other channels, okay, to put the same information, to give the same information to the players. So we started from the basic, as you said. So, for example, the menu. We start understanding how to translate the menu and to narrate that with the voices. And so we start implementing this kind of tools in simple games and simple apps using the technology that already exists, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So using, for example, voiceover. This is a voice that can read the text and also the images. Then we work a little bit more on the object recognition and mapping. So we start developing 3D sounds that helps you understand the position of the elements in the game and also the meaning. So while you are moving, for example, in a virtual environment, you can understand that there's an object in front of you, for example, and thanks to the sounds, which kind of object is, for example, it is dangerous or it is a good thing you have to collect, etc. And so we start developing these different features. The ultimate part was to package all of these kind of features in a tool that we give to the developers, and we help them with our support to integrate the different features based on, of course, the different type of games. So since 1 year and a half ago, we started working on the first demos. The first one was a platformer game, so a Super Mario kind of game. Then we worked on a FPS game, and then this year we released point-and-click adventure games in which there were too much elements, being honest, on the screen, but it was a real challenge for us to describe everything, but also to make it easier to navigate to the player.
Let's just say I'm not exactly interested in the item.
And now the next step for us is to make it even easier for the developers. So we are now using with Microsoft generative AI to scale the process and to make more simple to integrate all these features that at the beginning we have done that manually. So make it more using automation to put these features on different type of games.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to definitely dig into that in a little while. But you've mentioned a number of different genres of games. You mentioned football games. I'm thinking of one football game in particular, which is essentially a glorified spreadsheet called Football Manager, where you can imagine that this being easier perhaps to convert into something that's accessible. But then you also mentioned FPS games and high action, often multiplayer type of thing. Is it the case that you're actually aspiring to be able to work with games that don't necessarily seem obviously accessible like that?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Starting from the basics, so the menu first, then the other features, then starting from simple games in which we have the time to put this feature on. We think that we can train the generative AI and make it prepared, okay, to work on something more competitive. For example, as you mentioned, action games in which we have many elements in which we have to make many decisions and we have a short amount of time. This is, of course, a challenge right now. The most difficult part is to do that automatically, but we think that working with the simple ones and training the AI, we will be able in few years to make also different games, different genders accessible. And when it's not possible maybe to get the exact same experience, the point is, in my opinion, to try to put in the other shoes, so to understand how the experience can be made for the other person. So I don't know if you ever played something like Super Mario Galaxy kind of game,
yeah.
in which you have different roles for the player. So I also envision something like in which if I'm not able to give all the information to some kind of players, maybe they can be useful in other ways. So maybe one player can use the sounds, can use their voices or something like that. And that can create also a collaborative path within the players.
Brilliant. So we want to talk a bit more about the use of AI, because it from what you're saying, it feels like that's a real accelerator for your ability to kind of make change happen here. But that comes by virtue of your participation in the Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact program, where there's lots of innovative, interesting young companies like yours. Tell us a bit about that program. What is that? How did that come about, and what has that meant for you?
Yeah, it's a quite interesting story, by the way, because the first time I heard about the program was I think at the end of 2020 or maybe at the beginning of 2021, and we were invited by Microsoft Italy and doing a small speech to Jean-Philippe Courtois in Milan, which is an ex-vice president in Microsoft. And he gave us the possibility to talk about our idea in just 3 minutes, by the way, so a really short amount of time, in which you have to convince him about our idea and to tell them how much is important for us doing something like that. And the meeting, I think that went great, but we didn't receive any other emails or feedback in the next 2-3 months. And then after that, I received an email in which we were asking to take part to this program, which was called Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact. And the reason was that probably Jean-Philippe Courtois and other people from Microsoft were very interested in understanding a little bit more about us. And so in January 2022, we started the collaboration and the program. And it was quite interesting because it was basically not just a mentoring program, but more a custom program for each startup that was involved. So we had the opportunity to talk with a single mentor that provided us contacts, technologies, also other people that want to join us and provide us support and counseling in order to scale our idea from our market to others and to understand better which will be the challenges for us and the next future. So our mentor is Giuliana Tioanda, which was amazing with me. We started together our meeting and we understand month after month which are the main things we have to focus on, and we achieve some goals time after time. And then in September this year, we have been involved in the Microsoft Global Hackathon as a startup participating in the program. And we also won the second place, so it was very great.
Yeah, I heard about this. So you took part in a hackathon. Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, you roasted the competition and flew out as winners, but what was involved?
We have been involved in the hackathon at the beginning of September, and over 30 people from all over the world join us in the project. So the first one was Juliana, then Wyatt, and with me, we were the three team leader. I involved, of course, all of my Novis Games team and other people from our environment that might be interested in helping us in the project. And they, helped us with beta testers, but most of all with software developers, partners, and opportunities to use also other technologies to accelerate, as I said, what we have done. So in 7 days, we have this opportunity to study what we have done from on the point and click game of the wardrobe and to recreate that in just 1 week using generative AI. So to scale and to create the same output or at least something similar to the same output in just a week using generative AI and to create this package we can use to diverse type of games.
Wow. Talking of generative AI, it's a hot topic. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what industry you're in. Generative AI is the topic because it's got so much potential, but you're already using it. You are obviously working with Microsoft tools to try and achieve that. But can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with it and how you're going to find benefit with it?
Yes, as we said during the Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact project and also the hackathon, we have teamed up with top leaders and experts from Microsoft and partners, including Xbox ambassadors and Microsoft accessibility features, Microsoft research, and we have built our technologies on top of services and API from Azure and Seeing AI. And just to give an idea, putting together all this expertise, we have been done what it previously costed us thousands of hours in developing. We can obtain the same result in just a matter of minutes. So we can generate the same basic features, for example, audio descriptions or understanding in-game elements directly from the code, directly from the game files and runtime, which is quite impressive. And we can make people interact directly with the voice. So we can also develop more interesting and advanced features using the same technology. So the exciting part is that testing and achieving these results, we think that we can create generative AI temples and packages for developers in order to change the way we create games, change the way accessibility is put into games, because it's not something that you have to create at the end of the game, but it's something that you can create in a runtime, as we said. So understanding that directly, why are you playing?
Right. And so this sounds like you're making the life of developers a lot easier, because I don't think there's any set of game developers out there that would be asked, would you like your game to be more accessible? And the answer would be, well, no. What might have said up until now is, we would, but it's the overhead of actually trying to achieve that to a really good level is really high. And as we know, developing games is an expensive and time-consuming job with a lot of risk involved. Once you're out there, it's kind of fingers crossed. Let's hope everything works. So, what kind of response have you had from the kind of game development community out there to your ideas?
Yeah, as you said, our tagline was exactly that. So make accessibility features accessible to game developers. So make it easier for them. And we have been talking a lot in the last 2 years and also during the program. So, for example, we have been in contact with Microsoft Developer Acceleration Program. We have been talking with other Microsoft developers areas. And so we have been understanding that, as you said, for them is, of course, is important. Of course, they want to do that, but they don't know how, and they don't have the time also to put their effort on that. So the point is exactly that. If we can provide packages and AI solutions that can give them the opportunity to put these features at the beginning of their development process, it's of course much easier and they can also reach a huge target of users, because they can help more people playing their games, and also they can be more inclusive in what they are done with their game.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you say, there's 250,000 people out there who are currently underserved, who might now become a viable market for people. It's not all altruistic. So that leads us on to, I suppose, the next question, which is, have you, through the testing, through the work you've done, what's your sense of what kind of impact you're going to have for those people? People a bit like Marco, I guess, other people who have been, games are an arm's length kind of difficult thing for them. What's your sense of how they're reacting to what you're doing?
Yeah, as we said, there are, I think, different levels of impact we can obtain. For example, the first one is, of course, to help people with low and no vision and accessing this kind of games. But as you said, if, for example, I can use voice command to interact with the game, I can help with also other disabilities, for example, or I can create something which is easier to use for everyone. For example, maybe I have no time to bring my controller with me, and I just want to know about my position in a game or something like that. I can ask to the game to tell me what I was doing, or to move for me to create some combos, and so to make it easier for everyone at the end to play the game. And also the exciting part for me is that it's not just about gaming, if you think about that, because there are many situations in which maybe we don't have time, or we don't have the opportunity to be focused because we are doing other things. This is something that Google make us easier to understand, for example, with Alexa services or things like that. But also, for example, I don't know, while I'm driving, if I have to be focused on the street, if I have to look at that, and I have audio information or vibration that helps me understand if there's something dangerous around me, or something that can, I don't know, help me understand what I have to do. This can save my life. And so it's not just about gaming. It's not just about people with disabilities. It's something that that can improve life of everyone, I think.
Wow. So it sounds like you're aiming quite high here. There are applications for what you're doing. You may be starting in video games, but like so many other things, actually, innovation starts in video games, and it ends up affecting and impacting all of us, right? I can already imagine how much use I would get out of certain games more if I was able to just sit there and interact with voice and say, look, can you switch between these various loadouts and my heaving inventories of stuff? I haven't got a clue what the best things are here. I don't know. Maybe you could help me out if I could just talk to you, right? That's just me as a normal kind of pseudo slightly too old gamer now, but explore that in all sorts of other contexts, and suddenly what you're doing could have a genuine impact in all sorts of areas, couldn't it?
Yeah, and the more we play, the more we obtain, because it's generative AI. So, for example, if I am in a specific environment and I wanted to ask more about what is going on, I can ask, where is the car? What is in the car? And maybe the game instead can create new contents and create and make me more engaged on the games, just interacting with them. And this is quite amazing, I think.
Yeah. What do you think of the term metaverse?
Yeah, this is another interesting thing, because I think we are also close with metaverse and virtual reality, because it's just a virtual reality in which you can immerse not just using your eyes, but by sounds and vibration. And I think that we can also we can do something also about that, because if we are able to create a reality in which also other channels, other sense are involved in a major way, we can make people easier also to access the game, access the virtual environment also to test maybe a situation before it came. I'm thinking about, I don't know, work situation in which I don't know the environment. I want to test that. I want to understand where are the objects. And so it's not just about gaming. If I cannot see where is my office or where is my table in the office, I can use this 3D sounds environment and this AI mapping in order to move in a real environment, not just in a virtual one.
Yeah, it's great. And the more you talk, the more interesting the whole thing sounds to me, right? Because, I mean, nobody, as far as I can tell, nobody really knows what the metaverse is, right? But we know that there's something evolving. And the kind of work that you guys are doing is the sort of connective tissue that's going to make sure that huge numbers of people don't just get left behind in that.
Yeah.
Because whatever it is, it could easily do that unless somebody is coming up with the kind of solutions you are. So from my perspective, I think you deserve huge congratulations. What's next for you in the next few months? Anything interesting coming up?
Yeah, I think that now our challenge is to understand which are the best games in order to test the technology we have, and we want to make it as wide as possible. So want to test different genres and kind of games, and we are now trying with also Microsoft to search for 10 games to test the technology with and to release that. Hopefully on Xbox too. And so it will be possible for the first time to play something like that. Everyone will be able to play that on their own PC or Xbox. And that is quite amazing. But yeah, after that, as you said, the more that we grow, the more that we understand about that, we can try to test and put in other environment and context. And so I think that the more we discover, the more we can develop. And that's kind of amazing.
Brilliant. Well, it is exciting stuff. So where should people go? They want to know, they can come to techforgood.net if they want to listen to this or watch this or read more about this. But if they want to get information from the source, where should they go? Where do people find out more about Novis Games?
Yeah, they can find us online on our website, novisgames.com, and of course on our social media, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, these kind of things. And also they can search us as co-founders, so me, Marco Andriano, Moreno Lovato, Francesco Di Battista, Alessandro Albano, Martin Angelo, and Simone Collino. And we will be happy to share our stories. And if you are a game developer or just a passionate enthusiast about technologies or accessibility, please ask us, join us. There's time and help and support you can do, and also feedback if you are a user or an amateur.
Perfect. Brilliant. And that's a great note to end on. So as I mentioned, please come to techforgood.net to find out lots more about Ariana, her team, Novis Games, everything that's going on there. Plus, hopefully we'll have lots more interesting stories just like this one coming up in the next few days, weeks and months. Until then, it's goodbye from me, and from Ariana as well, it is
Goodbye.
excellent. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.